Need for Speed Most Wanted is now officially 20 years old, and 20 years ago I already thought Need for Speed Most Wanted was an incredibly cool game. Almost everything about the game seemed right. The style, the story and the way it was told, the police chases, everything was great. I have to say, in the 20 years since Need for Speed Most Wanted, I've seen few racing games that even came close to the quality of Need for Speed Most Wanted, let alone a Need for Speed game that came close to it. Although Heat and especially Unbound had a good try, with their own unique style and the street racing, it just wasn't as good. Now that the game is 20 years old, I thought, what could be more fun than revisiting it and check if, 20 years later, the game is still as good as I remember, or if it's better to skip it. Let me tell you all about it in this blast from the past. The story is quite simple. You're a street racer arriving in the city of Rockport. There's a huge street racing scene going on here, where you have to fight your way up the ladder. Eventually, you'll encounter Razor, at that time the number 15 on the blacklist. The blacklist is a list of most wanted and feared street racers, and he's number 15. Eventually, you'll race against him in your incredibly cool BMW.
First I'm gonna take your ride, then I'm gonna take your girl. Get ready for that.
What an asshole!
But he sabotages your car, and with that he wins the rigged race, taking your car in the process. And to make matters worse, you are arrested.
But you're mine now.
Hey, where's your fancy ride?
When you are released, much has changed. Razor not only became the number 1 on the blacklist thanks to your car, but his friends and the like are also high on the blacklist. So it's up to you to take out all these blacklist characters one by one, not only to get your car back and take revenge on Razor, but also to become number 1 in Rockport.
You got a lot of work to do.
You do this by completing certain objectives, which vary from person to person. For each blacklist member, you have to win a number of races. You have to achieve a number of milestones, which can vary depending on what you need to do in a police chase, such as avoiding certain number of roadblocks, ramming certain number of police cars, or driving through certain speed cameras at a certain speed is also an option. You also need to have sufficient bounty. Bounty is a system that determines how much you're wanted. You can achieve this by not only completing objectives during the chases, but also by disabling police cars, maintaining a prolonged chase, and then, of course, escaping.
Yeah, this is 2-4, 1073, set up southwest of suspects, last known 20.
Once you've met all the requirements, you can challenge the blacklist rival in a direct duel, where you have to win a series of races against them back to back. Then you can beat the next person and so on until you beat the number 1. It's all very simple and the premise may not seem that complex, but it's incredibly well told. The criminal undertone in this story is also very cool, although the threats are sometimes down bad brutal.
People are talking. Now I know this ain't true, but they're saying you're working for the cops. Make sure you prove them wrong. I'll take care of the guy spreading the rumor.
Throw this phone away, Lois!
But all in all, it gives you the right motivation to keep going. Every time you beat a blacklist member, you also unlock new things, like cars you can buy, as well as specific parts, such as body kits and the like, which you can use to pimp and tune your car to make it even better. Every time you beat a blacklist member, you can also pick out a number of markers with which you can even win the specific blacklist member's car, and those are incredibly cool. And so you race through the open world of Rockport. You can race through the open world with the risk of encountering a lot of police if you drive recklessly.
Whoa, cop.
But you can also trigger races or police chases through the menu, so you don't have to constantly search for the police if you need to increase your bounty. That works really well, so you really have a choice how to approach it.
That's a good idea.
The gameplay is exactly what you would expect from Need for Speed, hardcore arcade racing. The driving is anything but realistic, but hey, this is precisely what it makes so fun. You do brake and steer a little bit, but the game definitely helps you to keep it all manageable, even at higher speeds. There are various races: sprint, circuit, speed trap, toll booth, lap knockout and drag races. Circuit and sprint are exactly what you expect. Circuit is driving in laps and sprint is going from A to B. Whoever finishes first wins. Lap knockout is also a circuit race where the car in last place is eliminated each lap. It's quite similar to the knockout races we recently saw in Mario Kart World, for example. Toll Booth is also a sprint race where each toll booth serves as a checkpoint. You're racing against the clock with time added for each checkpoint. Personally, I find Speed Trap the most unique type of race. It's essentially a sprint race through various checkpoints, only here the checkpoints aren't toll booths but speed radars. The goal of this race is to drive through them at the highest possible speed, because the combined speeds become your score. It's not about finishing first per se, but about achieving the highest cumulative speed. However, if you finish first, your opponents lose points every few seconds, so there's definitely value in not losing sight of the racing element. Last but actually least is the drag race. This is a short sprint race where you have to shift gears yourself and cross the finish line first. Sounds simple, but the steering is incredibly clunky and the riding feels like you're a magnet. A simple tap to the left and you'll shoot sideways. But steering hard doesn't do much. It doesn't make the racing easier, and because you can crash out in this mode and they throw all sorts of obstacles in your path at always the same moments, it feels like a huge trial and error exercise. During all races you can use slow motion, which makes your car much easier to control. This is a handy feature, especially when having to make sharp turns.
Close call.
But the absolute highlight of the gameplay are the police chases. They're incredibly cool and there is a kind of addictive risk to them. On the one hand, you need them to collect bounty and reach certain milestones, which can vary per blacklist member. Think of escaping in a certain number of minutes, or keeping the chase going for at least a certain amount of time, or ramming a certain amount of police cars, for example. But if you get caught, you pay a fine and can receive a marker. Too many markers means your car is impounded. It starts off simple, but as the heat levels rise, the police use more and more tricks. Faster cars, helicopters, roadblocks, SUVs that run you off the road, spike strips, everything to stop you.
Ready? Let's push them on the side and hit this thing now. He's through the block. He's through the block. He's running the block. I can't get in there. Report when you can.
You also have a few tricks up your sleeve. Besides driving fast and slow motion, you can also create quite a bit of destruction near certain objects, indicated by red icons, to take out your pursuers.
MVA, negative on the stop. He's moving through the drive-in.
Then you can hide in certain spots, indicated by white circles, and collect the bounty.
Heading west over the Bay Bridge. Containment to be set up a 10-block radius. Stand by for updates.
Earning and spending money is also a key part on cars, but also for tuning and customizing them. The options aren't as extensive as in Forza Horizon, for example, and in fact it's quite basic, but you can still create some really cool cars if you put in the effort.
Not bad, not bad.
All of this is still incredibly easy to do, and even 20 years later the racing is still fantastic. I've played many Need for Speed games since this one, but none of them had all the elements, from racing to chases, as well balanced as Most Wanted. And we are talking here about a game from 2005. Two minor flaws in the gameplay are the ridiculous catch-up system, with which opponents can close gaps of 30 seconds out of nowhere, and the fact that you can crash into invisible edges, which can be down bad annoying. In terms of presentation, the game hasn't stood the test of time well in all aspects. Graphically, it's all still pretty okay, provided you play the game on an Xbox 360, because this is what the GameCube version looks like. And as you can see, that version is actually quite unwatchable. The only thing that still holds up reasonably well though are the cutscenes. Need for Speed Most Wanted comes from the time when EA still used real actors in the cutscenes, and they're still perfectly watchable despite the stereotypical street punks in them. The 2005 street style is a bit outdated, but as a 30-something years old,
Fucking boomers.
I can still handle it just fine.
Hey! Hey! Homies, look! Can you still say homie? I don't even know, man. I'm from old school.
One thing is still ultimate, and that's the soundtrack. I dare to say that this is one of the best, if not the best, game soundtrack ever. I can play it for copyright reasons, but believe me, put the playlist on Spotify and you'll have a blast. Disturb, Cell Weller, Sonny Clay, Avenged Sevenfold and more deliver a killer mix of hard-hitting metal, rock and hip-hop, and that's still great and it just fits with this game. Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005 is still the best Need for Speed game ever and still one of the best racing games ever. Presentation wise it might be a bit outdated in some areas, but it's still an ultimate mix that, in terms of story and gameplay, still creates a complete package that simply works. My advice, absolutely play this Need for Speed Most Wanted because it's an absolute blast from the past. But if you have the choice, play the Xbox 360 version and don't be fooled into buying the 2012 version, because they once tried to cash in cheaply by releasing another Most Wanted. And no, this wasn't a remaster or a remake, just a shit ass game that wanted to capitalize on the same name. Maybe that's something for another video, someday. And that brings us to the end of this blast from the past video. What did you think of Need for Speed Most Wanted? Have you ever played it, or are you going to give it a try now? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video. If you want to see live gameplay, be sure to check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/gameplayofjay, and don't forget to follow me there too. And for more content, check out the suggestions on the left or the channel on the right. And for now, thanks for watching, see you in the next video, bye!